All right, cool. Could you guys hear me now? You guys hear me now? Let's see here. That's real quick. All right, cool. Could you guys hear me now? All right, cool. I think it's just delayed. So let me see. See if I can fix this. You guys hear me now? Sorry, guys. Yeah, I just got this new Yeti mic. Aaron talked me into getting a new mic, so I got this new mic, and then I think it's working now, so we should be good. All right, cool, guys. So sorry you guys didn't hear anything I said when we started, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. I mean, sorry, if you guys are on the Zoom, you guys will have a Q&A, but if you guys are on the YouTube, just put the questions in the chat, and then we can go over pretty much any questions you guys have. But you know, normally how the weekly chart analysis works is I go through the chart and I go through every single pair we have here on the watch list, and I pretty much just mark up all of the zones on the chart so that you guys can be more prepared for the following week. So you can see right here, we marked this up from last week, and you can see that the levels tested perfectly. Like we marked this up right here, and as soon as it came down, it was a perfect level right here. Same with like the previous weeks. We marked up these up here, and you know, it respected these levels pretty perfectly. As you can see right here, it tested the zones back here in July. It also tested the zones up here mid-July. And you can see right here in August, they tested this zone, came back down. Again in September, tested the zone and came back down. So, all right, guys, I'm going to go and start going through the list. Let's see, we had one question from Toon earlier. So Toon wanted me to look at Euro USD. So I'll take a look at that first before I move on to the following pairs. So let me go to Euro USD real quick. I see your question, Lloyd. I'll get to that right after, but let me just pull this up real quick. So if you guys are familiar with how I mark up the charts, basically what I do is I clear the charts out like that. So everything, you know, it's a naked chart right there. And the first thing I do is I pull up the K² version 2 indicator, and you can see right here, it marks up all of these zones. So once I have all of these zones on the chart, what I do is I pull up the rectangle tool, and then all I do is I draw my own zones over the K²SR zones, just so I can see where the rejection points are. So there's another point right there. And sometimes when the zones overlap, like right here, what I do is I just create that into a bigger zone. And this will just give you a heads up, you know, where not to trade and where to trade, so that you guys don't get caught in any reversals. So you got this all marked up right here. And then once we get to the last zone, if there's no zone on the bottom, what I do is I go up to the higher time frame. So right now I'm on the 4 hour. I go up to the 8 hour over here. And then I try to find the next nearest zone. So the next nearest zone is gonna be way down here. So you got a lot of space right here for, you know, the EU to come on down further. So I'll go back to the 4 hour. Once I have that all marked up, I'll just take off the K²SR indicator, and you can see right here that you got a perfect markup on the chart. So you can see generally what price does is it breaks the zone, and then once it breaks the zone, it shoots to the next zone like it did right here. And then it comes back down, tests this zone, and price pretty much just goes from zone to zone. So if you guys have these zones on the chart, you'll know exactly where to trade and where not to trade. And if you guys are familiar with how I trade, generally what I do is I trade from zone to zone. Like right here, price broke this zone right here. You know, it's a pretty clean break and retest. Price broke it, came down, retested, and shot straight back down. So what I expect to happen here is price is probably going to come down and test this zone before, you know, it decides to either reject off it or continue further down. So, you know, once you have these zones on the chart, this is where you can start making your trade analysis and your trade ideas to determine, you know, what direction price is going to go. Obviously, there's going to be other factors that you guys factor in to determine, you know, what direction to trade in. But this is going to give you an upper hand because it'll give you an edge, like, you know, where not to trade and where to trade. Like right here, price has, you know, it's pretty much open field right here. So although it might not move down smoothly, price could probably come up a little bit, come back down. It might bounce around, but in this situation right here, odds are it's probably going to come down and retest this bottom zone over here. And on top of that, the US dollar has been, with the elections going on, I mean, it's kind of hard to predict because, depending on what Trump says, depending on what Biden says, they can push price, either direction. So I don't know what's going on this week. Let's check out the, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to check out the news to see if there's anything coming up. Move this over here. All right, cool. So I'm going to check out the news right here, see if there's any news coming up, because last week was all FOMC, so like the US dollar was going crazy, it was all over the place. So looking this week, I think it's NFP week. Yeah, it is. So it's NFP this Friday. So it looks like Monday, no US news. There's actually Euro news. So this is probably going to affect Euro USD. So depending if their news is bad or good. So say if their news is good, right, then the euro is going to gain in strength. So if the news is good, this is probably going to shoot up to here. And then, at that point, it's probably either going to continue back up or it can reject off this point and come straight down. So looking at the news here, we got Euro news tomorrow in the morning at 6:45 a.m. It's high impact news, it's red. So that could affect the market heavily. It just really depends on what they say, what people predict. It's kind of hard to tell. But odds are the news is probably not going to be good because they had it. I think the UK or somewhere in Europe, they're having like their second outbreak of COVID. So, and they're starting to shut down again. So if they're starting to shut down, their economy is going to go down again, just like how, it happened at the beginning of COVID. So if that happens and the news is bad, this might not even shoot up. This might just come tanking down, versus, because obviously if the UK is in a shutdown again, the US is, recovering still. I mean, we're not in any better shape, but we're recovering. We're not having a crazy outbreak like how they are. The US dollar is probably going to gain in strength. So if you guys are familiar with like how price moves generally, if price is moving up, like how it's moving up right here, that means that the first currency is gaining strength against the second currency. Vice versa, if price is coming down, that means that the second currency is gaining strength in comparison to the first currency. So you can see right here, price went up. That means that the euro was stronger than the US dollar, and then it came back down. That means that, it flopped the other way. US dollar was stronger than the euro, and then it came back up and came back down. And then again, right here, you can see this last week, it came down because of all of the announcements they were making with the FOMC. Obviously, when the US FOMC, which is the Fed, which basically, it gives all of the updates on the US economy. So, obviously they're going to say everything good. Like they're going to try to say as many good things as possible. And that's why the US dollar gained strength. But that doesn't mean it's going to keep dropping, this week, because I mean, there's NFP this week. So just depending on how NFP is, if you guys aren't familiar with NFP, they're basically going to announce the unemployment rate. So if unemployment is high, then the US dollar is going to be weak and price is going to go up. However, if the unemployment rate is low, then, the US dollar is probably going to gain strength and it's going to keep coming down. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But just looking at how price is right here, let me, once I have everything marked up right here, what I do is I turn on the pivots just to see the trend. Obviously, price is trending down right here. If price is below all four pivots, the pivots are all angling the same direction and they're spread out. This is going to confirm a downtrend. Vice versa, if price is above the pivots, they're all angling up and they're spread out. This is going to indicate a trend upwards. So right here, price is trending down. Once we have that, I can hide this off the chart because, obviously I'm only going to be looking for sells. And then on top of that, I'm going to turn on the momentum indicator to see the direction of momentum. So you can see right here, we got a sell momentum right here, and then it confirmed when it closed. So right here, once price closed below this point, I think we entered a Euro USD trade. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but once price breaks these zones like it did right here, it provides for a sell entry, because once that happens, odds are price is going to continue downwards. So the thing with Euro USD is, actually the market reopened already. Yeah, it's open right now. So the market just opened. And we'll see how it plays out, because right now the market still has to stabilize from the weekend. So a lot of things can happen. Whatever happened over the weekend, it's going to push price in a certain direction. So it's been dropping right here. It might recover a little bit, like up to that point, maybe not even that high, before it either continues downwards or it, keeps pushing up. And it is Sunday, so right now the full market isn't open yet, so you're not going to see too much crazy movement. And we probably won't be seeing that until tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, once the market is fully open, because the US market doesn't open until tomorrow at, I think, 5:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. So we'll just have to wait for the market to fully reopen. But otherwise, I think it has a sell bias right now, because I don't see the Euro news to be any much better than it already is right now, because they're going into their second lockdown. So I mean, me personally, I don't just trade just because, instinct. What I do is I wait for something to happen. Like right here, when I saw this break past this and I saw the momentum coming down, obviously I rode that wave down right here. Vice versa right here. If we see this buy signal, obviously I'm gonna ride this to the top up here. So currently right now, I think Euro USD looks like a strong sell personally, because, so here are the factors. So the first factor is that the momentum and the trend is coming down super heavy. You can see right here, it keeps trying to test the pivot. So it tested the pivots right here, failed, came right back down. What might happen again right here is price might come up, test the pivots one more time, and then drop down further. So that's one indication that there's a sell bias. On top of that, if we look at the momentum using the momentum indicator, obviously momentum is still down. Until we get a buy signal, it's going to keep coming down, because you can see right here, once it was coming down for a while, but then once we got a buy signal right here, it shot up to this zone before it came back down. So if we do get a buy signal here, then I'm going to anticipate that to probably push up a little bit. And then once you get another sell signal, I would ride that sell all the way down. But, like I mentioned, it's too early to really determine, how this is going to move as of right now, because the market's not even fully open yet. So once the market's fully open, we can assess the asset a lot better, because, as soon as the markets start to open up, like right now, we're barely in the Aussie session. So once Asia session opens in about an hour and a half, we can start seeing more movement. And then once London opens, that's where we can see a lot of movement. And then, obviously once the US market opens, that's going to be full market. So once all the markets are open, then we're going to start to see some fluidity in the market. Otherwise, it just doesn't, I wouldn't just jump into this trade just because. I mean, you could get lucky, you could ride this thing down. But me personally, I would just wait for it. I would wait for depending on what strategy you're applying. If you're applying one of the K2 strategies, obviously if you, so here's an example. So if we get a retracement up, so if we get a buy signal, like I just mentioned earlier, using the pivot strategy, if we get a retracement up and then we get a sell signal and then it drops back down, then I would enter a sell. But I wouldn't just enter a sell just because, there has to be something that you're reacting to. And yeah, so that's it for your USD right now. I would just give it some time and, just be patient, because I know a lot of people get impatient. They just want to hop into trades, but it's better to be safe than sorry, because you don't want to hop into a sell, and then all of a sudden it shoots on up right here. And let's see how many pips that is. It's nearly 100 pips. So, you're going to be in some drawdown if you just enter randomly. Like, I would just wait for a better edge in the market. Lloyd said, what's a good stop loss for this pair? So Lloyd, I mean, if you're going to enter this trade here, which I don't recommend, your stop loss should probably be at the next zone. So this zone right here, but a little bit above it. So somewhere around here, which is like about, I go a little higher actually. Let's see how many pips is it. Yeah, I probably put it up to this zone up here. So I probably put it at about 1.17400. And that's because you can see right here. So as price comes down, so price broke right here and it retested, right? So as it retested, here's what happens. A lot of people put their stop loss right at the zone, and you can see price spiked up just a little bit just to stop everyone out, because some people want to put their stop loss right here, like super close. And the market makers and institutions know that. They know that other people are looking at the same exact area right here. So whoever put their stop loss too close right here, they would have gone stopped out. But if you put your stop loss a little higher, like up here, you wouldn't have gotten caught in this trap right here, because some people would have entered a sell right here, because everyone's trying to apply that same strategy, the break and retest. So right here, as price comes up, if your stop loss was too tight, you would have gone stopped out if you were right there. But if your stop loss was a little higher up here, you wouldn't have fell for that trick right there, because that's just how the market works. The market knows what everyone else is doing, and you can't trade how everyone else is, because if you are, you're just going to lose like most of them, because obviously everyone knows that the market isn't in your favor. For the majority of people, in order to survive and to thrive in this market, you got to do something different. You can't be doing the same thing everyone else is doing. And that's what we try to teach here at K2. Like, we try to teach momentum, because a lot of people don't trade momentum. Most people trade price action, and price action is fine, but you got to tie that in with something else, because you're not going to survive long term if you just keep trading the same way everyone else is doing. You'll get lucky every here and then, but most of the time it's you're going to start to burn, like right here. So a lot of people would have entered. So if I rewind to this area right here, let me see if I can find another area where it tested. So it hasn't tested that area in a while. But if someone had this, like, if I was just trading price action, I saw this right here. So you see price break this zone, right? Price comes up, it tests this zone. Once you get the strong bearish candle after this nice rejection, a lot of people would anticipate this to drop, right? Because it looks like a strong rejection right there. So what happens is people enter a short position right here. They put their stop loss right there, and then it runs and they get stopped out. So that's what I mean by, you got to trade differently. You can't trade how everyone else is. And if your stop loss is too tight, like how someone did over here, you would have gone stopped out right away. But price action is it's not a bad way to trade. You just have to tie it in with something else. So K2 is a little bit of a mix of that, because we use market structure, like these zones right here, but we also use momentum on top of that, using the momentum indicator like this right here. So obviously, we wouldn't take a trade here until we got a signal to tell us to take that trade. So right here, price broke this zone. We got a buy signal. We take a buy right here. Again, right here, price was out in the open, right? Obviously, we were anticipating price to come and test the zone. So once we got another buy signal right here, would have taken another buy, and then pretty much rode that all the way up there. But yeah, Lloyd, so if you wanted to enter this trade right in here, which I don't recommend, your stop loss would probably be good somewhere above here at about 1.17400. I would just do that to be safe, because they might spike price up a little bit if if that ends up happening. But then it will probably drop back down. But you don't want to get caught like in this area right here where they might go for a stop loss hunt. But okay, so let's so we're done with EU. I'm going to go over to AC now. So I'll go to OddCAD, and that's perfect because I was going to go that direction anyways. So we marked up this one. I'll come back and review this again later once we we go through these other pairs, but I think we're good for right now. So looking at OddCAD right here, I'm gonna leave this marker here because this is an active position that we still have going. If you guys didn't close your position in profit last week, so I'm gonna leave that there. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna redraw these zones, because the zones adjust every week. So like I mentioned, this is a naked chart right here. What I do is I turn on the K2SR indicator, and there we go. We got our zones on the chart. So I'm gonna draw my own zones over these zones. So when this happens right here, like this is what I was talking about earlier. If the zones are too close to each other, my rule of thumb is about 20 pips, 20 to 25 pips. If it's not 20 to 25 pips away from each other, like 6 pips right here, I just connect this into a big zone just to make things simpler. Because obviously you don't want to trade within this area because you can see all these rejections right here, right? So obviously if you try to enter a trade right here, you might get pushed back down and pushed up. So it'd be safer to just wait for that rejection to happen and then get that momentum signal to ride, pretty much this wave back down. Sammy said, should we re-enter OddCAD? So me personally, once I get out in profit, I don't like to get greedy. So I just, once I'm out in profit, I'm done with that trade. I'll just wait for another entry. So my recommendation is not to re-enter. If you want to, you could, but I would just wait for another entry, because if I see another entry here, I'll just call it. But currently, this is a risky trade because me personally, I don't like to hold trades for more than a couple of days. And I think this trade is running for about, from the 24th. So technically it's going to be running about 3 days now. So that's kind of risky because you never know what's going to happen. Like, Sammy, you're in the military, so you know that things happen, at any point in time. So like, over the weekend, I don't know what's going on with like the Aussie or the Canadian dollar. Like if something happened over the weekend, you're trying to hold on to this and you tried to re-enter something that, appeared last week, um, price could just spike in any direction, just depending on how, that affects the market. So that's why I don't really like to re-enter trades once, I've gotten out of them. But if I do see another entry, then yeah, I'll make a re-entry on that. But I wouldn't just re-enter just because you want to, hop back into the trade from last week. I would just wait for another entry, depending on which strategy you want to apply. I'll take a look at it right now. I'll see if there's any opportunities to re-enter this trade, and I'll give you, my 2 cents on whether you should re-enter or not. So we have no lower zone here. I'm gonna go up to the higher time frame. So we've got a zone right here. So when a zone is on its own, like it is right here, what I do is I just draw a line there. So I draw like a horizontal line because I don't want to connect a huge zone right here and then prevent myself from entering any other trades. All right, cool. So we're right here. I'm going to turn off the SRs. So for you guys here that just want to get the zones, the closest upper zone for odd CAD right now is going to be 0.9438, and then the lower zone down here is going to be 0.93720. I'm just going to round that down. So just looking at price right here, let me pull up the pivots real quick. Obviously, price is trending down. Yeah, so I wouldn't enter right now, Sammy. I would probably wait because let me turn on the momentum indicator. Yeah, because right here, market's kind of weird at, like right when the market reopens, so it might push up a little bit and test this. Might test this K2SR zone, or it might even test this zone up here, or might even this level. So just depending on how the market decides to move as it slowly reopens. We're in the Aussie market right now, so that's why it's moving a little more than probably the other pairs. But once Asia session opens, it might push price a certain direction. I don't know if there's anything happening today. Let's see. Pull up the news. So it looks like, yeah, they're already starting with the bad news over here for Europe. So right here it says negative interest rates for the Bank of England. Man, I don't see anything good happening for the euro for the next couple months, I assume. But I don't see any news here for the Aussie. But news will happen randomly since the Aussie market just opened. I don't know what's going to happen over there, but so if the Aussie news is good, they'll push it up. However, if it's bad, it's probably going to come down. So I'd probably wait for a little bit, Sammy. Just give it some time, and then see what happens here. So what I do is I'd wait for price to react. You don't even have to apply it on this time frame. Like you can go on the shorter time frame, on the 30-minute. Okay, perfect. So Sammy, I think you have the indicators, right? So if you do, I would wait on 30-minute. I wait for a sell signal because right now it's testing the pivots. So once we get a sell signal like we did right here, you can pretty much ride this down for a pivot entry. And then pretty much just ride another move within the full move. Because obviously you can see right here, the pivot entries were hitting like super nice. So right here, price, if you guys are familiar with the K2 pivot strategy, if not, it's on the YouTube. So just go on the YouTube page and you'll see it. But basically right here, when price comes down and then it retraces from here, then it rejects from this point. Once you get a sell signal like you did right here, you could have entered a short position. And then obviously you can see straight to TP right there. Same situation right here. Price comes down, retraces from this point, rejects off this point, sell signal, another short position right there, another 50 pips, easy. Again, right here, another short position, 50 pips again, another short position, another 50 pips right there, another short position right here. I mean, this is literally like clockwork. It's so easy. So technically this trade would still be active right here. But you guys get what I'm saying. Like basically, if another entry appears right here, so price came down, it retraced from this point, rejected off this point, or it might keep pushing up. Once you get a sell signal, you can reride that sell and pretty much ride it to, however far it goes. It'll probably come to this lower zone right here, and then it might even break right through it. or it might just retrace right off it. So it might come down, reject off this point, and then retrace up a little bit, depending on how price is going to move. But just looking at odd CAD right now, obviously you can see the bearish candle developing right there. So that sell signal might come up at any point. So if you want to keep looking at that, that'd be a good thing to look out for, just in case if you want to re-enter this trade. But back to what I was saying, I wouldn't just enter just because. I would always only enter if there's a valid entry there, which looks like it's trying to develop right here at this point. So I just give it some time, and if it does develop, then yeah, enter that sell. Okay, so let me go back to the 4-hour candles. We're done with odd CAD right here. I'll just reiterate what I said earlier. The upper zone right here is going to be 0.9438, and then the lower zone down here is going to be 0.9372. Let's see, John said, so right now odd CAD meets the retracement requirement. Yeah, John, so if you're applying it on the 30-minute chart, that would. So I'm going to go through the requirements real quick. And this is going to be for the K2 pivots strategy. So first, identify trend using K2 pivots. 2, identify retracement. 3, identify rejection of K2 pivots area. And then lastly, identify a valid K2 signal. All right, so those are all the requirements right there. So what John was asking right here was whether the second requirement right here, identify retracement pullback, has been satisfied. So the first requirement is to identify the trend using the K2 pivots. Generally, when price is below the pivots like they are right here, and then it retraced up, and then again right here below the pivots, as long as the pivots are angling down and they're spread out, that's going to confirm a downtrend. It's pretty clear here. When price is below, the pivots are angling down and they're spread out, it's a downtrend. In the opposite, if price is above the pivots are angling up and they're spread out, it's an uptrend. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Right here, clearly we have a downtrend. And going back to John's question, he's asking if the retracement pullback has happened. So right here, you can see price was coming down pretty heavily, and then it established a low right here, right? So once it established this low, that's when the retracement began. So there's the second requirement right there. Third requirement is going to be the rejection. So this might be the rejection right here. I'm not sure yet because we haven't had all the requirements met. But this could well be the rejection right here. And I say that because price rejected off this third pivot right here, and it looks like it's about ready to come back down. So the first two requirements have been met. Lastly, we just need to confirm a valid K2 signal, because if we get a sell signal here, then this would establish the top. So if this is the top, this would satisfy the third requirement, which would be the rejection off the K2 pivots area. So once those two requirements have been met, you can enter a sell on the open of the falling candle. So yeah, John, this would fulfill that requirement. All we're waiting for are these two requirements down here. And this is on the 30-minute chart, so you're probably going to get a lot more entries on here. Me personally, I only trade on the 4-hour, but if you want more entries like all of these right here, 30 minutes perfectly fine. And this used to be my favorite time frame to trade on. I personally just don't want to be on the computer like 24 hours a day anymore. So that's why I moved to the 4-hour candle. But obviously you can make a lot more money if you trade on the shorter time frames. It's a lot more risk, but it's a lot more profit as well. So there's odd CAD. Let me go back to the list. So we're done with that. I'm gonna turn off this, and then we're gonna go to the next pair. The next pair is gonna be odd CHF right here. I'm gonna turn off the momentum indicator. I'm gonna zoom out of this right here. I'm gonna delete everything. So here we are starting from scratch, nothing on the chart. Turn on the K2SR indicator. And there we go. We got our zones on the chart. So this looks like a big zone right here. There's only so much space in between each zone. So I'm just going to create a big zone. It's going to be from down here all the way up here. And then again right here to this point. Let's stretch that out right there. another zone right here, another zone right there, and then one last zone up here. Nice. So this looks perfect, guys. So let's check this out. Once we have it lined up, you can see here that these zones have been perfectly tested. You can see this same zone right here has been tested since June. So it's a strong zone. So it tested back in June. It tested all the way back in February. This is a strong zone where it's currently at. So right here, you can see if price breaks this zone, it could come tumbling down pretty heavily, like way down, because you can see right here, it's tested the zone how many times and it's failed to break it. I mean, it broke it right here, but I don't know if this was caused, due to something else on the 29th. Seems like something was going on in the world. I don't know if there was COVID news or whatever, but well, actually, we do remember that Australia was going through some COVID crisis at some point around this time. So that might have pushed, price in a certain direction. But, just looking right here, this is a pretty strong zone to look out for. So say if we get so obviously, momentum is going up right here. If we get a sell signal, like one of these red candles right here, and it closes below here, we could take a nice sell. We probably ride that all the way down, because obviously you can see right here. Let me go and see when's the last time it broke. The last time it broke right here, look at this huge drop, guys. Crazy. So last time it broke right here, it dropped how many pips? Jeez, look at that. It dropped nearly like over 1,000 pips. That's crazy for odd CHF. This is a slow pair too. It normally doesn't move that much. So this would be a good thing to look out for if it breaks below it. But there's no way we could really tell until it actually happens. Like I always mention in all of our webinars, I don't recommend you guys ever it's okay to create trade ideas, but I wouldn't bet that like price is going to come crashing down just because it looks like it. I would only react to price after it like breaks below here. Like right here, I wouldn't take a sell just because I think price is going to come down, because odds are price is probably going to come up before it comes down. So price might come up, test the zone, come back down, and then at that point, maybe then it'll finally break it and come crashing down right here. But there's a lot of different scenarios that can happen right here. So, just looking at our normal analysis here, if I turn on the momentum indicator, so right here is a false buy signal, but I mean, it doesn't really matter when you're on the higher time frames, because you can see obviously it was a false buy, but it still shot up like quite a bit. So until we get a valid buy signal, like something like this right here, see, this is valid because it is a green bullish candle and a green buy candle, all in one. Right here we have a buy signal, but it's a red bearish candle, so obviously it's invalid. But it can turn into a valid momentum move up if it just continues pushing. So right here, obviously price rejected off this same zone we were just talking about. We got a buy signal, and look what happened. It shot way up here. So same situation right here. This is an invalid signal, but if it turns into a valid one, then we can probably see that shoot on up. But otherwise, if we get a sell signal like this right here, so you can see we got a sell signal, it broke the zone right here, and it came down super heavy. So if we get a sell signal like we did right here, and then price closes below the zone, then obviously, price will probably continue down, because if you look at the charts, history always repeats itself. So it'll probably come down right here. And once it does come down, let's see where the next zone is, because I don't know if it's close or if it's far. Who knows? It could probably be super far down. So this zone right here actually pushes down a little further. So let me just move this down a little bit. So it would have to break this 8-hour zone right here. But let's go on the daily and see how far that goes. So it's pretty far. It goes down to this point right here. I'm just going to mark it up. It's not important right now because price hasn't broken below it. But yeah, so if price breaks this point, it's going to come down to this next zone right here. Because like I mentioned, price respects these zones pretty nicely. Like price goes from this zone and it consolidates a little bit, breaks the zone, pushes up to the next zone, and literally just bounces from zone to zone. So right here, if price breaks this zone, if price breaks this zone right here, it'll probably come down to this area. So once it does that, How many pips is that right there? It's about 40 pips. It's a nice move. But yeah, like I mentioned, currently there's no catalyst right now to enter any trades until we have some sort of confirmation. So I'd leave odd CHF alone. But if you guys are looking at it, the closest upper zone right here is going to be 0.65868, and the lower zone down here is going to be 0.64974. So it really depends on whether we get a momentum swing up, or if it breaks below and we get a momentum swing down. But this is a slow moving pair, so I don't really recommend you taking long-term holds on this. We did hold this for like almost a month in July, finally hit full TP thankfully, but it wasn't a good time holding on to it, not knowing what was going to happen the next week. Okay, so odd CHF is done. We'll go to odd JPY. All right, cool. For this one right here, same situation. We're going to delete everything, start from scratch, turn on the K2SR indicator. And there we go. So let me draw these zones right here. I'll go from top to bottom. All right, cool. So right here, we have no lower zone. I'm going to go to the 8 hour. Still nothing there. I'm going to create another zone right here too, because this upper zone is just a little too far. If there's too much space in between, you kind of want to have a, some sort of framework as to where price can likely reject from it a later time. So the next zone is going to be way down here. It's pretty far. Well, I mean, it's not that far, but it's decently far. Okay, so right here, let's turn off this indicator. Right here, the closest upper zone is going to be 74.82. And the lower zone is going to be 73.76. I'm just going to round that up just so you guys have some cushion there. So just looking at odd JPY right here, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like I mentioned before, price respects these zones pretty nicely. So obviously price came up, came down, tested the zone, literally went sideways for a bit, and then shot up, and then it just pretty much goes and tests zone after zone. So right here, zone projected off this zone, came up, projected off this zone, and literally just bounces from zone to zone. So right here, price broke this area, came down right here, some retracement. It looks like it's going to continue down to test this zone. So once it tests this zone right here, it can either reject off it and shoot on up, or it can break it and come down super heavy. This really depends on how the market reacts to the break of that market structure. So let me see how many pips is it from this point. It's a decent amount, about 50 pips. Let's turn on the momentum indicator, see where momentum is moving. So right here we had a false sell signal. So the next signal after this could be a buy signal. So it might push up a little bit, and it might create, it might just consolidate a little bit sideways before it comes back down to test this zone. Let's check out the trend. I mean, obviously it's in a downtrend, but we'll just confirm. Yeah, so right here you can see price is trying to push up. So as price is pushing up right here, it's probably going to come up, test this zone. I mean, this pivot, or maybe even this zone, or this pivot as it comes down right here. And once it does that, once we have another, an actual valid sell signal, then we could probably see it come down. And this is paired with the Aussie, so I'm not sure. I haven't followed the fundamentals for the Aussie all last week, but I know the yen was a little stronger, so that probably caused the push to continue down. But like I mentioned, it's just we're barely starting the week, so a lot of things can happen, or things might have happened over the weekend that's going to cause price to push in a certain direction. It's only 3 o'clock right now. The Asia market opens in about an hour at 4 o'clock my time. So once that happens, we're probably going to see some volatility. And then once we see that volatility, it'll probably push price either up or down. We won't really know. And that's why I don't really trade on Sunday. I just prepare for the week to come. And the way I do that is I identify all of these zones on the chart. And this is why I want to give you guys the same edge that I'm using, so that, once price starts to, actually, move like crazy, like up and down, you guys can see exactly, where you should be trading and where you shouldn't be. So generally I like to trade in these open areas right here, because I just ride this wave to the next zone. So like right here, price broke this zone right here. What do? Ride it to the next zone. Price broke this zone right here. What do? Or up here, actually, it broke the zone. What do? Ride it to the next wave. I mean, ride the wave to the next zone. And it's it's the same situation every single time. See right here, price broke this zone, came down, got stuck in the zone, broke it. What did it do? Next zone. Price came back down, tested the zone right here. What does it do? I mean, it broke the zone, and then it was right below it. It comes down and tests this zone over here. Although it went sideways, it eventually came down. So if you guys are able to just ingrain this in your your thought process, it makes things so much easier, because price always respects the zones. So price right here broke the zone, right? What happened after it broke the zone? Pushed up to the next zone right here. Consolidated a little bit, broke the zone again right here. Tested this zone. Once it broke the zone, back down this way. And I say that because price came up, got stuck in the zone, came back down with this bearish candle below the zone. It went from this zone to this zone, broke the zone, went from this zone to this zone, came back up, next zone, came back down, next zone. So if you guys have these zones on your chart, or at least in your head, you guys can at least, not, I wouldn't say predict, but you could forecast basically, what's going to happen next, or not what's going to happen next, but where price is going to be going. So like right here, price hasn't came down to the zone yet. So, it still has a way to go. It might shoot back up and retest this zone, but eventually it looks like price is gonna, it's still gonna come down to test this zone, like it always does. So, you can literally go through like tons of data. And then look, so check this out, guys. The same area where ODJPY is, it was here in the past. It was here in September. It was here in May. It was here in December. It literally comes back. So history always repeats itself. And this is why I prefer currencies over like crypto or stocks, because stocks are so directional. They don't range like currencies. And then with cryptos, nobody knows what's going on with cryptos. It could literally go up or it could go down. But if you're trading something that's been around and has been moving normally for like how many years now, it's easier for you to spot these patterns in the chart. So you can see right here, this is a strong support zone. You can see right here, it got some trouble back in June. So odds are it's probably going to come down here and then consolidate again before, either rejecting back up or breaking below and continuing down. So that's that for ODJPY. I'll just remind you guys, the upper zone right here is going to be 74.83. I'm just going to round that up. And then below down here is going to be 73.77. All right, next pair, AUD NZD. Same process. Every Forex pair kind of move like similar. So it's not much that you have to do. You can see right here, these zones that were created from last week. Look how perfectly it followed through. So we drew these zones up last week, and price came up, rejected off this point, came down, rejected, came back up, rejected, and came back down. Right here, it broke below this zone. So if it confirms to, continue down, it's probably going to drop down even further. But, enough said with that. Let's delete this, open the K2SRs. Let's draw these zones. All right, so right here, we got this upper zone. Here we got this zone. Here we got this zone up here. I'm going to connect these zones down here. And then lastly, these zones right here. Like I mentioned before, if there's no lower zone, because you always want to know where the upper zone is and the lower zone, so that you know where to be trading or where not to trade. So no zone here. Let's go on the 8 hour. You can see it's stuck within a zone right now, actually. And then the next zone is going to be down here. So it's just good practice to have a full picture as to how price is moving. So right here, Odd NZD is a pretty erratic pair. You can see it kind of bounces around a lot, but even though it bounces around a lot, it still respects these zones. Price consolidated, broke the zone, rejected, came back down, rejected, came up, consolidated a bit, broke, and then it literally just repeats itself. So same with right here. I would have to wait for this to close below the zone. And let me see how many pips is here. That's a pretty decent amount, 30 pips. So, once price breaks below the zone right here, pretty much ride that to the next zone over here. For, I would say it's decent scalp, because depending on how far it moves down. Let's see, let me turn on the momentum indicator. Yeah, so it still has a sell momentum. So, once price breaks below this point, then you can probably ride that down to the next zone. But currently it's stuck within this area right now. So let me just give you guys the parameters for these zones. So I'll give you this upper zone right here, which is going to be 1.07510. And then this lower zone right here, which is going to be 1.07178. So once price breaks below that point, the next zone again down here is going to be 1.0685. But like I mentioned right here, so there's no entry right here. So if price breaks above here, then you could actually ride this up to this next zone over here. Because once price breaks up here and closes, it's probably going to shoot to this next zone. However, if price breaks below this area right here, it's probably going to test this lower zone right here. So it's really up in the air as to where odd NZD is going to go. And the thing with odd NZD is that they kind of move weird because they're very similar currencies. They're both from the same area. They're both worth about they're not a huge difference. Right here, the exchange rate's only 1.7 cents, which is not much at all. It's nothing compared to like the euro compared to the USD. I mean, yeah, the euro USD and something like the odd USD. So I would be careful and just wait, for price to either break above here or break below here before you make any moves on odd NZD. So we're done with that. Let's move on to the next one, odd USD. Yeah, and check out these zones from last week. See, once we drew these up from last week. So as soon as price, I don't know if we took a sell here, but yeah, if we did take a sell right here, it's exactly what I've been talking about. So when price breaks the zone right here, pretty much ride this down to the next zone over here. And then again, when it breaks this zone over here, ride it down to the next zone over here. We don't have a zone marked up. I'm going to get to that, but just like I mentioned it, whenever price breaks the zone, it follows through perfectly. So what I always recommend is just to keep trading simple. Like, don't overcomplicate it. You can see right here, I showed you guys all these setups, and anyone can do this. Like, I don't understand why people always want to overcomplicate trading. The simpler you make it, the easier it is and the less stressful it is as well, because you won't be missing trades and you'll be able to enter these trades, pretty streamlined. Like, you just follow the same strategy every single time. But all right, so let me delete this off the chart. Let's draw these zones. K2SR indicator. We got this upper zone right here. This lower zone right here. And I know this might be hard if you guys are brand new, but the more times that you apply this setup, or just this thought process, the easier it'll become. Because I know a lot of people kind of get a little tricked up as to where to put their zones, but I've been doing this for so long where it's normal to me. So again, like I mentioned, there's no lower zone. Move to the 8 hour. There's no lower zone there, but I'm going to draw this here just in case, so that we have an idea where the zones are. Okay, so looking on the daily right here, it's actually within the zone currently. And then the next zone is going to be way down here. All right, so let me take that off the chart, go back to the 4 hour. See, odd NZD is actually a pretty messy pair to trade right now. But just looking at it now, you can see that a lot of zones were created since the beginning of last week. So obviously we just had these upper zones earlier, but now I created these lower zones down here, which give a good understanding. So check this out, guys. This is exactly what I said, that price respects these zones. So look at these zones over here. Well, we just created these zones today, depending on today's current data. But look at where it tested in the past in June. This is a strong support zone, and this is also a strong support zone. But you can see here, once price breaks the zone like it did right here, what does it do? Comes and tests the lower zone. Again, right here, price came back up. It broke below the zone. What happened from there? It came down and tested the next zone. So same situation where price currently is right now. Price is stuck within the zone. So as soon as price breaks this zone right here, then odds are it's going to come and push down to this zone over here. Or if price like shoots up from here. So here's another example of the opposite. So what price came down to this zone right here, but when it broke above it, it went and tested the next zone. Same situation right here. Until price breaks below this zone, then I'm not going to take any sells. Because what might happen here is price might break above this zone. So if it breaks above here, then I'll take a buy. So those are the two differences. There's different scenarios here. There's not just one way that, the market or price can play out. Price can either break above here, and then we take a buy. We ride that to the next zone over here, or price breaks below this zone, we take a sell, and then we ride this to this zone over here. It's really a toss up until price breaks above or below, because I'll give you confirmation that, odds are price is probably going to keep pushing that direction. So if we turn on the momentum indicator, that's where we'll know. So obviously right here, we got a buy signal, but like I mentioned, price came up, tested the zone. What happened? Shot right back down. So what I could kind of see happening here is I can kind of see this probably dropping further, testing this zone right here. And then once it does that, it can either break below it and we can have a sell entry right there, or it can reject right off it and then possibly break through it to the next zone over here. And then if it closes above here, then we can probably ride that up to this zone over here. Super simple, guys. Same thing every single week. I try to make it simple for everyone. But yeah, just looking at odd USD right here, it's kind of hard to tell. So I'll just give you guys the upper and lower zones right here. So the next critical zone is probably going to be up here once it breaks above here. I wouldn't take a buy if it closes within here, because obviously you can see here when price closed within here, it tested this zone and rejected right off it. So I would wait for it to break this zone up here, which is going to be 0.70930. And then down here, this is going to be 0.6997. So those are the two zones right there. All right, we're done with odd USD. Let's move on to the next one. Get some water real quick. All right, here we are with odd CAD CHF. I think I had this lined up because I was going to call it last week, but I didn't because it was towards the end of the week. So let me just delete everything. Yeah, it was like a pending call because I have a yellow flag here or orange flag. So if I have orange flag on these pairs, that means that I had a pending call that I was thinking about calling. If it's red, that means that we have a sell position that's currently active. And if it's green, that means that we have a buy position that's currently active. So same situation with all the previous pairs. Let's draw the K2SRs here. And then let's draw these zones. That right there. That right there. That right there. And then we got this lower zone right here. So we got the lower zone and the upper zone already set up. So let me turn on the momentum indicator. So this is actually a pretty good entry right here. I mean, it's still technically if we actually took this trade last week, or whoever was applying the strategy, they would have had this opportunity right here. So technically it's still an active trade for whoever, did take it. And what I see happening here, I would probably enter this, but I just wouldn't now because I don't like entering trades if I haven't fully analyzed them, to their full potential. But same what I mentioned earlier, like when price breaks the zone, odds are it's probably going to shoot up to this zone over here. So that's probably where it's going to go. And it's pretty clear right here. So I'll just show you another example where it happened in the past. So right here, you can see price was having trouble breaking, right? So we didn't enter no buys over here. But as soon as price broke right here and we had a buy momentum signal, we could have taken this. I'm pretty sure we might have taken it and then wrote it up right there for a full TP. Because, like I mentioned, price always, I mean, doesn't always, but most of the time, once it breaks the zone and we have a momentum in that direction, price will generally go up to the next zone. It might not reach the full potential, but it eventually does, like it did right here. Same situation right here. We have a sell signal. It's within the open field. What did it do? Came down, tested this zone, rejected off it, buy signal right here. What did it do from there? Exactly what we said it would do. It would go to the next zone. Another sell signal right here. What happened here? Went down to the zone right here, consolidated a little bit, broke it, went down to the next zone down here. Then it consolidated again a little bit. And then we got a buy signal right here. What did it do from this point? Once it broke the zone, it retraced back a little bit, but it ended up going to this next zone like it always does. So, it's just, there's just an example here showing you guys that, what I anticipate to happen here, it's already happened in the past and it happens time and time again. So this is probably what's going to happen here. Price is probably going to come up and test this zone. So if you guys want a late entry, it would have been right here, this point at 0.69358. And then, I anticipate this to shoot on further. It might not shoot all the way, but it'll probably shoot far enough for you to make some profit. However, like I mentioned, I don't enter trades just because. I would wait for some sort of confirmation providing for a valid entry. So that's CAD CHF right there. The upper zone right here is going to be 0.69970. It's going to round that up. And then the lower zone right here is going to be 0.6928. And I'm just going to round that up as well. So there's CAD CHF. Move on to the next one, CAD JPY. I'm going to delete everything off the chart, turn off the momentum indicator, turn on the K2SRs, and then draw these zones up here for you. One right there, one right there. Let's see, connect those, connect these. It's right here. All right, so we got everything set up. Turn off the K2SRs. See where the momentum is going. All right, so we got a buy signal right here. Let me just give you guys the parameters real quick. So the upper zone is going to be 79.82. I'm gonna round that up. The lower zone right here is going to be 78.63. Yeah, 78.63. I'm just gonna round that down so you guys have some cushion. But let's look at the trend. So this is where it gets a little tricky. So because price is trending down so heavily, I don't know if I would ride this buy signal up, because the trend down is super strong. Like, even if you didn't have the indicators, like even if you guys didn't have the pivots, clearly it's trending down right here. But if you were to draw it yourself by hand, you can see right here that price is clearly trending down. So even though we got a buy signal right there, I wouldn't take it because, obviously we like to trade in the direction of trend. So what price might come up a bit, because what happens here is, so like right here, I'm just going to show you an example. So right here, price was trending down, but it came right back up. And then as we see, we got this buy signal right here. As it broke above it, this zone, it ended up going to this zone over here before coming back down. So same situation over here. This might be a good trade to take if you want to take a risky trade, because price might continue on upwards. However, I like to trade in the direction of the trend. So I would wait for a sell signal, like something like this, get a sell signal, wait for it to break below the zone like it did right here, Same situation down here, and then take that sell position right over here to full TP. Same situation. Price comes down right here. I'll take that sell signal and then write it down. However, price might come up first to this point. It might not even come up all the way, but it might come up a certain amount, like up to here maybe. And if we get a sell signal, it'll probably come down, and then it might break from that point and come down further. So it just really depends. Tune said, is there usually a time in the morning where you would make the first trade or kind of prepare for one? So me personally, I don't prepare for any trades. I just react to price as they, as things happen in the market. I trade off the 4-hour candle. So the 4-hour candle closes at the same time every day. It closes at 2 a.m., 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 6 p.m., and 10 p.m. So those are the only times that I trade. At the time of the candle close, I'll pull up the charts. If I see anything that's worth taking, then I'll take it. If not, I just wait for the next candle to close. So me personally, because I trade on the 4-hour, I usually trade at 6 a.m., 10 a.m., and then the swap spreads at 2 p.m. So, even though the candle closes at 2 p.m., I don't look for trades until the market reopens at 3 p.m. So basically in the morning, if I want to trade, I trade at 6 a.m. and then at 10 a.m. And then again in the afternoon, I trade 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. So if you look at all the signals that I send out, they are always at the, they're always going to be around the same time. So they're going to be at, let's see when the last signal was sent out. Yeah, so right here, 10 a.m., I trade at the same time every single day. So when's the previous signal from there? 10 a.m., 10 a.m., 10 a.m. So they're always going to be around the same time. So if you just look at, all the 4-hour candles, that's generally where I trade. So depending on how you trade tune, I'm not sure what time frame you trade on or what style you're trading. So depending on how you're trading, I always trade at the close of the candle because that's how I can determine whether price comes below it or above it. So like right here, when this candle closed right here, it was 10 p.m. So if it closed right here at 10 p.m., I would have taken a short right there. Same situation right here. Price broke above here. This closed at 6 a.m. So I would have taken that at 6 a.m. right here and then let it run. So it just really depends on how, when you want to trade. The thing with the Forex market is that the market never closes aside from the weekend. So, there's no perfect time to trade really, because even if you're trading during New York session, it's still your trade's gonna keep running until, X amount of time. Like right here, if you took this trade, this trade would have ran for about a week, or I think this was Friday. So it counted an extra day. So that's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. So, your trade will just keep running. If you entered at 6 a.m., you could have just waited and then re-entered again down here at 10 p.m. It just really doesn't matter. There's no, I wouldn't say there's a specific time to really trade, depending on what time frame or what strategy you're applying. So if you're trading on the 4-hour, it doesn't really matter because you're going to cross over into other sessions. But if you're scalping, so if you're trading on the 10-minute, then, obviously, yeah, it's going to make a huge difference because you can see that price moves differently from period to period. So you can see right here during the New York session from, let's say, 5 a.m. till 2 p.m. up here, there's a big movement. It's 50 pips. And then you go into Asia session over here and then it starts to move slow and just go sideways. So it just really depends on how you want to trade, what time frame you trade on, what type of style you trade. But me personally, I trade at all times of the day. There's no specific time where I just, focus on. I literally take trades whenever I see an entry. So if I see price break that structure here and I get a buy signal, like right here, we got a buy signal, a broke structure over here, then I would take this at 6 a.m. Same situation right here. We got this buy signal and it's still continuing up. Same time, or this would be 2 a.m. So it just really depends on however you want to trade. So let's see, I'm going to keep going down the list. Master wallets, and how about GCAD? So I'm going to get to that Wallace, let's see, I'm currently at CAD JPY. We got a couple more pairs until I get down to GCAD. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 pairs until I get to GCAD. I'll try to get to that quickly. After I draw these zones for these next pairs over here. So let's see, is this still active? Yeah, so this is still active right here. We still have this active CHF JPY pair. Just gonna delete this. So this is technically still active right here. So I'm just gonna delete these zones over here. And then I'll just redraw the zones for you guys. All right, so we got this active right here. Turn on the K2 SRs. Got that zone. That zone. That one. All right, cool. So right here, this is the closest upper zone. Since we don't have a lower zone down here, I'm gonna go on the higher time frame, 8 hour. Draw this zone right here. Delete this. I'll just leave it down there. So it's not a big deal. All right, cool. So once we have those zones set up, go back to the 4 hour. Hide the K2 SRs. So pretty much like I've been explaining, you know, once price breaks the zone, this is why we took this entry right here. Because let me turn on the momentum indicator. So first, we identified the sell momentum right here, right? So this is why we took this trade. So we have a momentum downwards. You can see our price came down, came up, and then we waited for it to break again. So it broke the zone right here. This is how we took the sell. And then this is because we anticipated price to come down and test this next zone down here. So obviously right there, you know, we're still in this trade and it's looking good. So right here, you know, price hasn't fully moved to the bottom and we got another sell signal right here. So this gives more confirmation that's going to continue down. But like I mentioned, the market just opened. So that's why we're getting like this weird movement right now. So right here, we might just get this push up a little bit and it might test this zone before it continues downwards. So it really depends on how it moves. But yeah, so like right here for CAD, CHF JPY, I still think it's going to come down. I don't see any news coming up for the Swissy, which is causing price to go up. Currency steady as trading week begins. Yeah, I don't see anything here with the Swiss franc. So, you know, until something happens or there's some kind of news that happens, and you know, it'll probably push price up a little bit. But this is just pre-market or not pre-market. It's just, you know, the market just reopened, so that's why it's moving. It usually moves in a weird direction until it finds its groove for the week, and then it starts to move how it's supposed to. So right here, if you're still in this trade, I think it's still fine. But I think most of us got out already because it hit TP2, see for like 30 pips, I think, somewhere around here. And then I think most of us got out already. So I'm personally not in this trade, but I'm still following it because technically it's still active. So whoever's still in this trade, I'll still give you guys updates when it hits full TP over here. But you know, we'd have to just wait and see how it moves. This upper zone right here is going to be 114.12. And this lower zone right here is going to be 113.436. So that's going to be the zone right here. You know, price is probably going to move in between these zones. Just keep bouncing around until it breaks it. So once price breaks the zone right here, it's the same situation right here. See, price breaks the zone. It broke the zone right here. What happened? It ended up going, it retraced up a little bit, but what ended up happening, it came down to this zone over here. So once price breaks this zone down here, it's probably going to continue down further to this next zone. Or if price breaks the zone up here, it's going to probably come up and test this zone over here. So if you guys are still in this position, I do recommend you exit in profit, but it's really up to you on how you want to manage it. Like I'll give you guys the blueprint on like what to do and what I'm doing. But like I mentioned, everyone is their own trader and everyone's on different levels of trade psychology. So it doesn't matter how much advice I gave you or how much advice anyone gives you, you're still going to trade the way that you trade. So it's really up to you if you want to exit this trade in profit because you're already so close to full TP anyways. How many pips is it? Well, it pulled back a little bit, but it's still only 25 pips. So, me personally, I would just pull out of this trade and take my profit. However, if you want to take that risk, you're more than welcome to hold on to it and let it hit full TP. But 25 pips isn't going to make or break your account. So me personally, I would just get out of it and then wait for another entry. But like I mentioned, it's really up to you guys how you guys want to manage your trade and how cushiony is your risk tolerance. But yeah, so that's CHFJPY. Let's move on to this next one. Let's see. Ruby said, "Are the K2 signals valid on every time frame?" Yeah, so it really depends on what time frame you're trading on, Ruby. But like, say if you're, I don't know what strategy you're applying, but here I'll just show you an example. So I'll just pull up another chart. Yeah, because I don't want to mess up my official charts. But I'll just pull up something over here. So say if you were applying the pivot strategy on the 4-hour time frame. So if you're applying it right here, odd CAD on the 4-hour time frame, this is a huge drop right here. You could have profited like 140 pips. Same situation if you are on the shorter time frame, the 1 hour. You could still ride this down from like right here, or this wouldn't be a valid entry, but this would have been down here. Same situation right here. Stop loss would have been right there at the previous swing. Right there for odd CAD, same situation. So it played out in 4-hour, played out in the 1 hour, on the 30-minute. There's way more entries here, but they're all valid as well. So there goes one win right there for 45 pips. Another win right here. Another win right here. And this is the same exact pair, odd CAD. We just looked at this on different time frames. So same situation right here. See, there are 4 wins right there on the 30-minute, right? Let's go to the shorter time frame, the 10-minute. Same thing over here. We got a sell signal right here. Another win. Another win. Another win. And it just goes on. It doesn't matter like which time frame you want to trade on. The signals are still going to be the same, regardless. The 1 minute, the daily. So you can see right here the pivot strategy. Price comes up, comes down, comes up. Sell signal. It doesn't really matter what time frame you trade on. It just really depends on which strategy you're applying, because the momentum signals, like these vertical lines, they're all based on momentum and how price is moving. So as long as there's momentum in the market, it's going to detect the momentum swings, because even if you take off everything else, you can see here that it detects momentum. You got a buy signal there, and then what happened there? The momentum swung up. And then we got a sell signal right here, momentum swung down. Buy signal right here, momentum swung up. Sell signal right here. So this is where it gets tricky. This is why you have to incorporate other things. So, although you know the direction of momentum, on top of that, you should also know where price is going to reject from. So obviously right here, price got a sell momentum, but then it shot right back up, right? Well, let's turn on the K2SRs. And then you can see that, let's turn on the pivots too. So obviously right here, these are the 3 factors that you can use. So first, that momentum's coming down, right? So first you can see where price is likely to reject from. You can see price moves from zone to zone. So as long as you see that there's no zone right here, you might have taken the sell right here, right? However, if you turn on the pivots to see the trend, price was trending up right here. So obviously you wouldn't have taken the sell, because odds are price was going to continue back up because price was trending upwards. So there's a whole bunch of different factors that you can factor in before you take a trade. So even though you get a sell momentum, you want to make sure that you're trading in the direction of the trend, because obviously the price is trending up. Price is probably going to reject right off that pivot and shoot up right there. So if you had those tools in front of you, you could have avoided taking this loss right here, because obviously price was trending up. So right here, and I think that's it. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much everything, Ruby, depending on what time frame you want to trade on or what asset. It doesn't have to be Forex. Like, you can literally use this on Forex. You can use it on gold. Same thing. You want to use it on silver. Same thing. You want to use it on indices. Same thing. Literally, it works on everything. So it just depends on what you want to use it on. Oil, Bitcoin. It works on pretty much anything. But yeah, so I think that answers your question. If you want me to go more in detail, if you have a specific, more detailed question regarding that more wider question, Ruby, feel free to ask. But yeah, just a quick answer to your question is yes. So it does adjust with time frame. So say if we're here on the 4-hour time frame, you can see that these signals are here. But if you go on the 1 hour, you get totally different signals, because the momentum is going to be different on each time frame. Because obviously on the 4-hour, each candle is 4 1-hour candles. So like one of these candles is technically 4 of these. And that's what the difference is. So it always depends on what time frame you're trading on and what asset. But generally, all in all, they're all pretty much the same thing. Okay, I'll go back to these charts over here. So we left off on CHF JPY. Let me go down to Euro odd. And I'm gonna start going through this a little quicker because I do have a meeting coming up soon, guys. So I'm gonna have to get off this in a bit. So let me just run through these real quick. Yeah, sorry guys, I didn't want to rush through this, but I have a lot of mentoring meetings this week. And just a reminder, if you guys have access to the K2 indicators, like I mentioned in the Telegram, if you guys want one-on-one mentoring sessions, I'm always available. But you guys have to have access to the K2 indicators, because I wouldn't be able to, teach you guys this if you guys don't have this in front of you. So if you guys want to learn how to trade exactly how I do and pretty much understand why I call each signal, it's available to you guys as long as you guys have access to it. All right, so let's see, mark this up right here. And if you guys want to go back and look at, any of the previous mentoring sessions that I've had, they're all on YouTube too. So just go on our YouTube, and then you'll see a whole section there with all of my previous mentoring sessions. And if you guys want to sit in on the mentoring sessions today, they'll also be on there as well. So, it's pretty much open to everyone. You just won't be able to ask any questions. You guys will just be able to sit in and see what I do on the one-on-ones. And Hero Odd is a messy pair. So let's see. It's kind of hard to see here. So yeah, I might have to leave this alone, because the problem with this is that this pair is just way too messy. There's too many zones that are crossing over each other. So when this happens, I usually just ignore the pair because it's just too risky for us to trade. But this looks like the highest ground here. So once price breaks this point for Euro odd, then we could probably take a buy right there. However, if it comes down below here, then we could take this right down to this zone over here. But like I mentioned, there's Euro news coming up tomorrow morning, and it's probably not going to be good. So if that happens, we're probably going to have a sell-off right here, and then it'll probably come on down further to here. I don't know how far it'll drop. It just really depends, because everyone is suffering from COVID. The economy is not good anywhere in the world. So even though the euro is going to be dropping possibly, it doesn't mean that the odd is going to hold up as well. Because if they go into a second outbreak as well, since they're on the island, it's gonna, it's gonna affect the market as well, and it'll probably just shoot back up. So let's have to wait and see that, like what happens from there. But just for you guys as your guys' reference, the upper zone right here is at 1.65594, and then the lower zone down here is going to be 1.64965. Let's keep going down further. Draw the zones over here real quick. All right, this one right here. It seems like a lot of the euro pairs are kind of messy right now. I know like last week during FOMC, there was some euro news too that kind of caused price to move a little crazy. And that's kind of why we have all these messy zones over here. I mean, euro CAD's a pretty messy pair anyways, but you can see right here, it does respect these zones, comes down, rejects off each point, back and forth. So right here, the upper zone for euro CAD is going to be 1.56197, and the lower zone right here, I'm just going to skip these two because they're too close. The next zone down here is going to be 1.55243. Let's see. So yeah, this is a messy pair. I probably wouldn't trade this until it, either breaks above it or possibly breaks way below down here. Because the last thing I want to do is get caught in this trade, and then it just ends up bouncing around on you. All right, Euro CHF. K2SR in here. Let's draw these zones. Yeah, I'm probably gonna stay away from these euro pairs because since they're so messy like this, it's probably gonna be hard to really have a good grasp as to where the rejection points are. So I might even ignore like a lot of these, and I might just wait for it to cross these big zoned areas. Or if this closes above here, then I might take that because there's a big, open field right here, about 30 pips. It's not a lot, but it's decent. So right here, there's the, you can see right here, it literally bounces within the zones so often where it just creates too many zones, and it makes it hard to really see where you should be trading. But just for you guys' reference, the lower zone right here is going to be 1.07886, and the upper zone over here is going to be 1.0837. So those are the two zones right there. Move on to the next pair, EG. This is an entry that I saw, I think, on Friday, but it was getting too close to market close, which is why we didn't take it. But let me just draw the new zones on here for you guys as well. Start on the K2SRs. So we got that zone. Got that zone. Got that zone. That zone. All right, cool. So you can see right here, this is a little bit cleaner. You can see that EG, it respects these zones pretty perfectly. So it's a lot smoother compared to the other EG pairs, or not EG, Euro pairs. But this upper zone right here is going to be, actually, I'll just give you this zone because if price breaks this area right here, we can pretty much ride this up to this zone over here. So this zone right here, the upper zone is going to be 0.9138. And the lower zone down here is going to be 0.90837. So generally, if price breaks above the zone, you can pretty much ride this to this next zone over here. I probably wouldn't ride it to here because this is too small, unless you want to scalp it. But yeah, if price breaks below this zone, it's probably going to test this zone right here before either rejecting up or continuing down to this zone over here. So there's a lot of scenarios here for EG, but like I mentioned, tomorrow morning, there's going to be some high impact EG news. I mean, not EG, Euro news. So if that happens, euro's probably gonna be weak. It's probably gonna actually no, it could go both ways because the the UK is located in the same area. They're both going through the same pandemic. So I mean, it might literally just go sideways until one of them breaks out in the other direction. So yeah, hang tight with that. Let's move on to the next pair. So EJ over here, we definitely have to mark this up. Let's clean that up right there. Turn on the K2 SRs. This is a messy pair. I know that the JPY was like moving crazy last week, so it kind of caused the pairs that associated with. I mean, EG, the euro pairs are moving kind of weird too, so that's why it caused all these crazy like zones all over the place. But I mean, this is it's irrelevant up here anyways because price is way down here, so this is where we really care. These are just for visualization, but we don't really care about this because price needs to shoot up so far before we can even worry about these zones up here. So let's see, this is about, yeah, that's a lot. It's about 150 pips. So there's no point in us even paying attention to these zones. But let's look for the lower zones over here. We got the 8-hour. And I'm just gonna stretch this down here. All right, cool. So EJ is literally just going sideways. So let me just turn this off. It's clear right here that it's in consolidation. So this is actually kind of dangerous because when price is stuck in consolidation like that, it's gonna have to break out in either direction. You can see where momentum's going. We did get a buy momentum here, but it literally just went sideways. So the next signal is probably going to be a sell signal. If we get that valid sell signal, like we did right here, it's probably going to come down and test the zone over here, maybe even break below it. So the upper zone for you guys is going to be 124.16. I'm just going to round that up. The lower zone right here is going to be 121.96. I'm going to round that up as well. So there's EJ for you guys. Move on to the next pair. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm gonna go a little quicker because I have to get to that meeting in about 15 minutes. Let me just zoom through this just so you guys have the just so you guys have all this down. I could probably go on live later again just to go into more detail to these zones if you guys have any further questions, but it's pretty self-explanatory. If you guys are part of K2, if you guys have been with K2 for a while, same thing every week. I'm just giving you guys these zones so you guys can have an upper hand in the market. So you guys can have the same edge as most of us do. But if you guys have access to the indicator yourself, obviously you'll have a greater edge because you can do this yourself, and you can have the momentum indicator indicating the direction of momentum. All right, we got this. All right, guys. So for Euro NZD, the upper zone right here is going to be 1.77948, and then the lower zone right here is going to be 1.77467. So until price breaks above here, I probably wouldn't take any buys, or if price breaks below here, until price breaks below here, then I would take some sells. So no entries until price breaks below here, or until price breaks below above here, or even above here. It just really depends on how much you're trying to gain. Because let's see, actually it's a decent move. It's about 40 pips, and then down here as well, it's a huge move, about 150 pips. So that's EN right there. Move on to the next one. EU, we went over this earlier, so I'll just give you guys the the parameters again. So the upper zone right here is going to be 1.1711, and then the lower zone right here is going to be 1.1422. So those are the two zones right there. If you guys want to see my analysis of EU, just go ahead and rewind to the beginning of the webinar, and you guys will see that I went over EU more in detail over there. Okay, GA over here, delete everything. Open the SRs, and then draw these zones for you guys. Fix this. All right, here for GA, it looks like these are some pretty nice zones. They're pretty clean zones. They're not too crossed over, so you can see that these are pretty solid zones to follow. So I'll just hide this. For GA over here, the upper zone is going to be 1.8210. That's going to be the upper zone right here. And then this lower zone right here is going to be 1.80948. So let's see where the momentum is. Let's see. All right, cool. So we got a buy momentum right here. So I anticipate this to actually shoot up to this zone over here. I should even make a call for this probably. Let's see. So we got a buy signal right here. Geez, okay. So this is gonna be a big move. That's why I probably didn't think about calling this, and this is why I don't like really taking trades like this, because the risk is a lot higher when you're trading these because they move so much faster. But I still think this is going to happen here. I think it might come down or trace a little bit, but then it's eventually going to come up to test the zone up here. So yeah, you guys have the parameters for GA, but it does have a buy bias, obviously because we have a buy signal right here, and you can see here on price we had a buy signal that came up to this zone, retraced back, shot back up, closed above here, and then it shot up to the next zone. Same situation right here, retracement, shot back up, buy signal. It's probably going to continue up to this zone over here. So that'd be something good to look out for. I'm probably not going to make any calls until 6 o'clock though, once the market has opened up a bit. I'm not sure if Wallace is still here. Sorry if we took so long, but here's GCAD. I'm going to look over GCAD for you real quick. I'll delete all this stuff. Turn on the SRs, and then I'll draw this over. All right, cool. So we got GCAD right here lined up. Slow one right here. Oh man, I gotta get on this call. Sorry guys. So I'm just gonna go over this real quick, and then we have a couple more pairs here. So I'll probably get back on live in a little bit. I forgot to have a call at 4 o'clock, so I gotta get on a one-on-one with one of the K2 members in a bit. But if you guys want to sit in on that, you guys are more than welcome. But I'm just gonna go over GCAD really quick. So I only have less than 10 minutes. I have to prepare for that. Let's go over this real quick. Open the momentum. And if you guys want to sit in on it, it's going to be posted on here as well. So if you guys aren't subscribed, just subscribe to the K2 channel. And whenever I go live, you guys will have a notification that I'm live. So you guys can just hop in on any of the mentoring calls and just listen in and see what we're going over. But those are going to be more catered to each specific person, depending on what questions they have. But okay, so right here, we had this buy signal. Obviously, like I mentioned, price shoots up, test the zone right here. So next thing coming up right here is we would have to wait for, so we still have a buy signal right here. So there's a couple things that could happen. So in this situation over here, price could either push up above this zone right here, and then in this situation, I would take a buy entry. And then, obviously price will probably shoot up. It might retrace off here and reject, or it could shoot up here and reject off here, or it could break right through it and just continue on up further. So it really depends on how it moves. But if we get a sell signal, so you can see this rejection off this point. If it rejects off like it did right here, so price came from down here, shot up here, rejected off this point, and you got a sell signal. If that happens again, we get a sell signal right here, price is probably going to reject off it and shoot down to this point. So here are the two different scenarios right here. If we get a sell signal like we did right here, it's probably going to come down and test this zone over here. However, if price pushes further and closes up here, then it's probably going to continue on further to this zone, or even further. So I'd probably hold off on this trade until you have some extra confirmation, because it could literally go either way right now. It could literally continue up, or it could continue down, or it could reject back down. But yeah, guys, so that's it for right now. I'll try to get back on a little later. I have a couple back-to-back calls. So I have a mentoring session right now at 4. I have another mentoring session right after. So maybe once that's all done, I'll come back on and then I'll finish up the rest of these pairs with indices included. But yeah, guys, till then, thanks for showing up. If you guys are new to this channel, feel free to subscribe so that whenever I go live, you guys can have a notification. But yeah, guys, I'll see you guys in a little bit. This will be live on, or it'll be ready for replay in a few minutes. So once that's ready, you guys can go back and replay, the previous pairs that we covered. Otherwise, you guys can go ahead and join the mentoring call that's going to go live in about 8 minutes once I check in with the student. But yeah, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for showing up. Let's see. How do I use this? I got this new mic here. I don't know how to use this thing.